Hello everyone and welcome to the grand finale of the PromoMoon competition. My name is Oleg Benskovsky. I am a representative for Europe of the Yuzhnoye Design Office, the leading space company of Ukraine, and I'm also with Moon Village Association, being a member of the board of directors in charge of the Moon Markets Development Coordination. I am very pleased and honored to be a moderator of the today's final event of the PromoMoon second edition. You may know that our initiative was launched together with Moon Village Association just a couple of years ago, and it is to honor Dr. Alexander Degtyarev, who was for many years general designer and general director of the Yuzhnoye Design Office, who was an excellent engineer, a very successful manager, and he was a visionary and innovator in many fields of practical rocketry, and he had a special passion for the moon, its peaceful exploration and utilization. So today we have the final event of the competition, but there is a specificity this year. Our final session is a part of the worldwide celebration in the framework of the International Moon Day. And the International Moon Day is another important initiative by the Moon Village Association, supported by the United Nations. And the final event of this initiative will be just in 2 days, on July 20. And for this final event, our technical support team is preparing a video which will include, among other things, some elements of our today's session. Still, even if the video is not finished yet, I insisted that the video as it is now should be demonstrated today. And you will understand after watching this video why I did so. So let us have a look. Indeed, the video is to be finished yet, but now I think you understand why I insisted against the will even of the technical support team to show you this video. Maybe not everybody will be able to attend our final IMD event in 2 days, but everybody in attendance today, I think, should even more appreciate now the efforts our experts um, invest in this initiative on a daily basis and appreciate the conditions under which they live and work nowadays in Dnipro city. With that, I would like to introduce our today's participants, and I start with Giuseppe Ribaldi, President of the MBA, Director for Human Spaceflight at the International Academy of Astronautics. Welcome, Giuseppe.
Thank you.
Максим Дегтярев, General Designer, First Deputy General Director of Yuzhnoye, Doctor of Technical Sciences, member of the MBA Advisory Board, and member of IAA. Welcome, Maxim.
Hello. Hello, thank you.
Bernadette Detera, MBA Global Network Implementation Support Officer. Hello, Bernadette. Welcome. Now, it gives me a special pleasure to introduce our experts and evaluators of all the proposals we received in the framework of our initiative. I start with the experts on the MBA side. First is John Menkins. John is Vice President of the MBA, President of Artemis Innovation Management Solutions LLC and of Menkins Space Technology Incorporated, member of the board at National Space Society and at Space Canada. Professor Dr. Bernd Hofer, Chairman and CEO of the A9C Capital, former Deputy President of DLR, the German Space Agency. Christophe Bonal, Senior Expert at the Strategy Directorate of the CNES, the French Space Agency. Now let me introduce the experts on the Yuzhnoye side. I start with the ladies. Evgenia Yarmolenko, Head of Department, Marketing and Strategic Planning. Irina Husarova, Doctor of Engineering Sciences, Lead Specialist, Spatial Rocket and Space Systems. Alexander Berdnik, Head of Group, Space Launch Systems and Launch Vehicles. Sergei Podolsky, Deputy Chief Designer and Head of Design Division, Liquid Propellant Propulsion. And Andriy Pustovgarov, Head of Group, Missile Complexes and Space Launch Systems Ground Infrastructure. Having introduced our experts, I have a pleasure to give the floor for the greetings and for his address to the MVI President, Giuseppe Ribaldi. Giuseppe, please, the floor is yours. Maybe before you start, Giuseppe, I just repeat again who are the winners of this year. And these are Samer El Sayari with his project Oasis and Iris. Samer is from Egypt. Hello, Samer. SME Eco Islands LLC, Colin Lennox presented his project Resource Extraction from Solution using Self-Organizing Wetland Bioreactors. Lennox is from the United States. Hello, Lennox. And we have a startup called Lunar Cargo with Haralampos Cosmos, whose project is also called Lunar Cargo. Hello, Haris. Now, Giuseppe, the floor is yours, please.
Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. And as Oleg said, welcome to the second edition of the PromoMoon. I will spend few words about briefly telling something about the latest development of the Moon Village Association, and then I will immediately go in discussing basically this PromoMoon event together with you, Noi. So let me say a few words about the organization. You have seen the video. So it has been created in 2017. The main goal is to bring together space agency as well as government, institutional member, as well as industry for creating, let's say, cooperation between countries around the world. The organization is a member of International Astronautical Federation, as well as a permanent observer in the United Nations, COPUS, where we bring issues related to governance or issue related to the peaceful cooperation related to the moon. In terms of main activity, there is a full palette of activity, but I just like to mention a few of them. The first one, you might have seen in the video, we have released basically at the beginning of the year the Lunar Commerce Portfolio, which is somehow connected to what we are doing today. It is a report, 200-page report made by a huge number of specialists, which explain how possibly the lunar market can be segmented and can be developed. So we invite everyone to review this report and get idea and see whether your organization can fit in some of those segments. The other part is participating in the United Nations. Basically, the MVA has set up a global expert group on sustainable lunar activity, which has been created in 2021. And this basically group has been able to complete his work at the end of 2022 and presented to the United Nations in 2023 the framework document, which is again available on our website, which explains how basically the relationship between the different actors on the moon, around the moon, should behave. The other element I want to mention is that we are having also cooperation with space agency. So we have recently had an activity together with ISRO, and you might all know that the Chandrayaan-3 has been launched last week and is on its way to the moon. So together with ISRO, we have been working in order to discuss basically all different type of outreach between different organizations. We had a video competition with young people, which is again the common element also together for the event of today. So the other point I want to mention is the International Moon Day has already been mentioned, and this event indeed it is part of the International Moon Day. It is the theme of this year is beginning the new lunar journey for humanity because of the number of missions which are taking place this year. And we are very pleased that this year this event can be included together with many others, around 40 countries around the world. Ukraine is definitely one of them, and we are extremely pleased for that. The last point I want to mention, we are very sensitive to the young generation, and therefore we have a project towards the Moon Village generation. And as a matter of fact, in order to encourage the young generation, so this activity of today, the PromoMoon initiative is made indeed in the frame of this toward Moon Village generation. Later on, Bernadette will explain this a little bit later. So now I want to focus on this event. So first of all, I'll take the opportunity to thank, of course, Yuzhnoy in the name of Maxim, which is, of course, is presently in the leading position. And I have to say that, as Oleg said, we had a long-standing cooperation with Yuzhnoy since many years, which dates back to a happier time. And of course, I do appreciate all the effort which has been made. I always been extremely astonished on the positive sense how the team has been able to work in the condition that we all know and that Oleg has just shown to remind ourselves. So really a big thanks to all the team in Yuzhnoy, which in spite of the situation has been able to work also in support of the PromoMoon. So I really wish that all of us, we can give a big round of applause to the team because of all hard work. And we believe that Yuzhno is a very important pillar of our organization, and we really hope that in the future some of these events will take place. This is my wish in Ukraine, possibly in the next year or so. So with that, I would like to give back the floor to you for the continuation of the event. Oleg, thank you.
Thank you so much, Giuseppe, for your very kind words. Let me pass the floor to Maxim Degtyarev, first general designer, first deputy general director of Yuzhnoye, and also Maxim leads the expert group for this PromoMoon initiative. Maxim, please, the floor is yours.
Спасибі, дякую. Добрий вечір, пані та панове, містер Рибальді, вітаю міст Детера, містер Вінсковський, команди та глядачі нашого заходу. Також хочу адресувати свої привітання містеру Хоферу та містеру Менкінсу.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Mr. Ribaldi, Ms. Ditera, Mr. Vinskovsky, the teams and the audience of our event. I would also like to extend my greetings to Mr. Menkins and Mr. Hofer.
Сьогодні ми зібралися тут на церемонії закриття другої ініціативи PromoMoon for Moon Generation на честь доктора Олександра Дегтярьова. Основною метою нашої ініціативи є розширення міжнародної співпраці та натхнення сучасного покоління Moon Village на розвиток ідей постійного та ефективного освоєння місяця.
Today we gathered here at the closing ceremony of the second PromoMoon initiative for Moon Village Generation in honor of Dr. Alexander Degtyaryov. The main goal of this initiative is to expand international cooperation and inspire the current generation of Moon Village to develop ideas to ensure permanent and effective exploration of the moon.
Ми прагнемо підтримати та підтвердити усі концепції ентузіастів, стартапів та ініціативних груп з усього світу.
We aim to support and validate the concepts of enthusiasts, startups and initiative groups from all over the world.
Ініціатива проводиться вже вдруге. Хочу подякувати Moon Village Association за її пропозицію щодо організації цього міжнародного конкурсу, а також всім учасникам, нашим експертам та, звісно, глядачам, які прийшли і дивляться церемонію закриття або переглядають її у запису.
The initiative is being held for the second time, and I would like to thank the Moon Village Association for its offer to organize this international competition, as well as all the participants of the competition, our experts, and of course the audience who came to the closing of this initiative or watched its recording.
В рамках конкурсу наші експерти ретельно відібрали 3 найкращі проекти з-проміж усіх.
As part of the competition, our experts carefully selected the 3 best projects from among all.
Ними виявилися проект Oasis and Iris, Єгипет.
The projects included Oasis and Iris from Egypt.
Проект компанії Eco Islands LLC, який має назву SOWBS зі Сполучених Штатів.
The next project is SOBS by Eco Islands LLC from the United States.
Та стартап Lunar Cargo PC з проектом Lunar Cargo з Греції.
And a Lunar Cargo project by Lunar Cargo PC startup from Greece.
Автори цих проєктів Самер Сайрі, Колін Ленокс та Харріс Космос сьогодні з нами.
The authors of these projects, Samuel Sayari, Colin Lennox and Harris Cosmos are here with us today.
Вони продемонстрували інноваційні ідеї, які роблять важливий внесок у розвиток технології освоєння місяця.
They demonstrated innovative ideas that make an important contribution to the development of lunar exploration technologies.
Ми раді тому, що серед нас є такі талановиті люди, які йдуть вперед і досягають значних результатів за допомогою своєї творчості та наукових досліджень.
We are glad that among us are such talented people who are ready to go forward and overcome the boundaries using their creativity and scientific research.
Спасибі. Дякую.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Maxime, for your introductory words and for the greetings to the participants and winners. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we finish our first part of the event and we move to the second one, which is presentation by the winning teams their projects. The presentations will be followed by the comments from the Yuzhная side, expert comments. And now we start with Samer El Sayari with his Oasis and Iris project. Samer, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Thank you for having me today. If I might share my screen. Uh, Thank you, really, guys, for having me today. I had a wonderful opportunity to have the opinion of a group of exceptional experts on developing my project. So let me tell you my story in a very brief time, which is about 10 minutes or maybe 12 minutes. My work is about building space communities, especially space urbanism. I'm trying to find what is known as a space urbanism. Most of my work is lying between class 2 architecture and class 3 space architecture. I started this endeavor in 2009 and it is still a work in progress. So I am trying to build a space fair civilization. I'm trying to make a master plan of our future or a blueprint for the next generation to start working on what I have started. There are several projects internationally awarded winning projects like Lunar Tree of Life on Mars, Key of Life, which is a satellite, Project Iris that I'll be presenting today, and Lunar Oasis, which I have merged both Project Iris and Lunar Oasis together. Also, Project Chimera Project, which has won on Moon Village Association a couple of years ago, and Mars Oasis, Mars Trees, Mars Tree of Life, and still there are more projects to build. So let's start with Project Iris without further ado. Project Iris is a space elevator, a lunar space elevator. After conducting an extensive research, it had been found that there is a technical and financial feasibility of building a lunar space elevator, which might be a little bit hard to build it for Earth, but on lunar gravity with its low gravity, it could be done. It will offer a very effective and low cost solution for building our first infrastructure on Moon to start our lunar economy and lunar industrial facility. My design, of course, I'm by training, I'm an architect, and now I'm an assistant professor of architecture. So we tend to use maybe a different approach in designing for space. We are not astrobiologists or scientists by the traditional definition, but as an architect, I use the biomimicry, which is tending to find a natural based solutions and linking those solutions with a human being part, including our culture and legacy and history. So the project Iris, the word Iris is itself has multi layers of meanings. One of these meanings is the messenger of gods between the Greek methodologies. It was the one who is responsible for linking or sending messages between different gods. And here is the analogy, which I do believe that the space elevator, the lunar space elevator, will be the one connecting Earth with Moon and Mars. The other layer, which is the iris or the eye, also this is a scientific facility, which with a logo we will put an eye on sky. It is located in the L2 location, so it will be the far side of the moon. The ground base, which will be the industrial facility, which was developed through the last 3 years of my life. I'm trying to develop it. There is a terran or a lunar surface unit and a subterran or a lunar cave part. Also, this space elevator will act as an internal transportation system and external transportation system like the railways, which was the catalyst of the Industrial Revolution someday on Earth. Also, the lunar space elevator will be the catalyst for the new industrial revolution of the economic space economy. So, getting back to the surface of Moon, it will cap the Martrancletus pit crater. So it will be covering the whole and sealing the whole cave to provide a safe environment for the residents in the lunar lava cave in an airtight construction. So now let's turn to the Lunar Oasis, the second project which was awarded 5 times internationally in the last 5 years. This is the new development which was provided exclusively for the PromoMoon initiative, which is merging both the Project Iris, the Lunar Space Elevator, and the subterranean part, which is the Lunar Oasis, a third class architecture, 3D printed using the ISRU lunar regolith. After researching in a lot of papers from NASA, and my thanks to Dr. Marco Cahen for his papers, which was very useful in developing the architecture program. And that was the suggestion of the architecture program in a concentric circle. And the use of the geometry of circle was not just for the morphology or the shape of the colony, but also it is linked in our human brain with that sense of community, circle of family, circle of nation, circle of tribes. Even the folkloric tribes was dancing in the circular formation. So it is something that is hardwired in our minds, and at the same time it is also from part of the biomimicry in developing and designing of this colony was the termites and ants colonies, which was one of the most sophisticated engineering works that was also conducted and researched and analyzed and reverse engineering to try to develop something using also the same techniques that the ants used, which is the ISRU, in situ resource utilization. Providing a different experience for the confined space to try to overcome some of the psychological and physical challenges of the human being, and of course the claustrophobic effect. So I try to diversify in the space experience. As an architect, we study and we develop and we're mastering this part. So I have developed 12 different user experience. So by moving through around the colony, it is like the old cities in Europe and in Middle East, the Mid Ages, which provided a sense of community and a sense of privacy and a sense of homeland intimacy. Also, thinking in the main layout and in the diversity of the powering system, I was aspiring, of course, to make work for the future generations that might take my work and complete working in it. I might not be there or still alive to witness the development of this project and implementation in real life, but I started with the main endeavor of having a fusion reactor and the fusion power, which I hope even after my years to pass by my arrival, that someday the future generation will be able to design and develop this project. After conducting several scientific researches, I found also in Purdue University an imagination or a visualization of the lunar lava caves due to its low gravity and the geological formation, which you can find in this diagram. And I started constructing everything, even including a lesson which is learned from Middle East civilization and even the Greek and Roman civilization, which is documenting our story in the wall murals inside the clean part of the lunar oasis. Starting from 1969, the first phase of colonization, and the second phase, the privatization of space industry, and then start our existence there until 2050, which I do believe it will be the born of the first lunar child. And in this fourth phase of colonization, the word colonization will turn into a settlement. After, of course, conducting another research in material science and talking to some experts, and with the kind advices of our experts today, which I do offer all of my thanks to them, I was able to develop the material selection from a naive selection to a much more professional set of materials, of course, under their supervision and advices. Another diversification of the powering system was crucial and important. Another lesson that was learned from the survival circumstances. So you cannot rely on just one power system, but starting from the solar satellites to the ground solar panels and nuclear batteries later on for powering the first part, which will be the lunar space elevator, and turning to the subterrane or the lunar lava cave, which also has its own powering system. And the most important ones that I would like to highlight today is the piezoelectric flooring. It is not only a powering system, but it encouraging the crew members to exert physical effort with making exercise and aerobics and cardio exercises, which and maybe dance even. So they will be having fun from exerting physical exercise for their health, and at the same time, they are contributing to the main power pool of the whole colony. So the human part here was included also. The geometry, as I have mentioned earlier, had many driving forces from the biomimicry, from the circular formation, which is the psychology, the anthropization, which is the human typical attitude, and the biomimicry, and also the fifth driving force, which is the ancient civilization sacred geometry. All of those five driving forces was blended and merged together to contribute, and the last one, which is a cutting edge technology parametric design to start to build something that could be implemented using 3D printing technology. Another research conducted by the MIT has reached me, concluding that using the gyroid cube or the minimal cube's minimal surfaces design is the optimal in saving resources, including power and the ISRU, and having a brick which is 6 times much more stronger than the traditional solid cube, which might have internal cracks. And at the same time, the minimal gyroid cube, which we can see on the left, will have many vacuum pockets, which will act as a thermal insulation for the extreme temperatures on them. Then I started uh, developing two prototypes. Before, of course, I have reached NASA uh, prototypes of robotics, the excavator and the extruder. And turning to the lunar food production, having a big scale hydroponic system of trees, and the last part, which is vacuum cleaning the internal courtyard, and according to the lack of atmosphere and lack of wind on the lunar moon. So by having this internal garden, which will be ideal for having the crew members to walk and stretch their legs, and maybe having a picnic in a clean without worrying about the lunar regolith, which might be harmful if they entered with their suits inside the habitable zone. That was the end of projects today. I'll just like to also mention that there are several projects I'm developing during the last 15 years, like Chimera project, which I also try to make some other different prototypes for all of the same process, or Mars Oasis, the twin brother of the Lunar Oasis that I have been presenting today, or Mars Reefs, which has won in Paris in last December, also the first grand prize, developing and making a mathematical formula out of nature to try to survive in a harsh environment. That was my journey, and I would like to also offer all of my thanks for Moon Village Association and PromoMoon Initiative with all of their experts. True from my heart, you have guys helped me to develop and further innovate and make the second and the third and the fourth generation of the project that I have been presenting today. This is also a map of the exhibitions. I'm trying to spread the word and increase awareness. And my role as an educator also is to educate people and the future generations to carry my legacy later on. I would like to finish my presentation today by the three quotes: the future belongs to those who dare to dream. So I had this step: the future belongs to those who also believe in the beauty of their dreams. It was a very hard process, but I will still continue. And lastly, the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. And my presence today with you guys is some of the preparation for the future. Thank you again and hope to see you again.
Thank you so much, Samer, for your very original vision and your impressive project. And now I would like to pass the floor to Dr. Maxim Degtyarev for the expert comments on this project. Please, Maxim.
Дякую господину Самарі. Це дуже красивий проєкт.
Thank you, Mr. El Sayari. This project is very beautiful.
Я, по-перше, хочу зауважити, що цей проєкт має велику цінність для людства як популяризаторський проєкт, в якому на високому рівні поєднана візуальна та наукова компонента.
First of all, I would like to point out that this project has great value for humanity as a popularizing art project, which has been performed at a very high level of visual and popular science component.
Такі проекти такі як цей, вони розширюють позитивність та гармонійність сприйняття ідей розширення розселення людства у космосі, зокрема на місяці.
Projects like these, they expand the positivity and harmony of our perception of ideas about how the humanity will settle in space, in particular on the moon.
Закладені ідеї, такі як транспортні мережі, підкреслюють зв'язок між поселенням та космічною інфраструктурою і Землею.
The ideas embedded in the project, such as transportation networks, emphasize the connection between lunar settlements, space infrastructure, and the Earth.
Проте варто звернути увагу на деякі неточності у візуалізації проєкту.
However, it is worth paying attention to some inaccuracies in the project visualization.
Основна концепція та конструкція ліфта мають бути переглянуті для створення працездатної системи.
The basic concept and design of the elevator should be revised in order to create a workable system.
Для цього необхідно провести математичне моделювання статики та динаміки ліфта в умовах гравітаційних сил, а також з урахуванням факторів космічного пространства та сонячної радіації.
For this, it is necessary to do mathematical modeling of the static and dynamic behavior of the elevator under gravitational forces, as well as it is necessary to take into account the influence of space environment and solar radiation and other factors like that.
Також розташування термоядерного реактора поруч із сільськогосподарською зоною може мати негативний вплив на живі організми.
Another point is that the location of the thermonuclear reactor next to an agricultural area may have a negative impact on living organisms.
Також замість використання ядерних та термоядерних джерел енергії доцільно розглянути більш широке використання сонячних панелей. Але для цього необхідно визначити енергетичні потреби ліфта та місячної бази та знайти місце для розміщення достатньої кількості сонячних панелей.
Another point is instead of using nuclear and thermonuclear energy sources, a more promising application of solar panels should be considered. But to use solar panels, you need to define the power supply requirements for the elevator and for the moon base and install a sufficient number of solar panels.
Частину ж цих панелей для енергетичного забезпечення ліфту можливо розмістити на космічних апаратах, які будуть розташовані у точці Лагранжу.
Part of the solar panels to feed the elevator can be placed on spacecraft which will be located in the Lagrange zone.
Оскільки практична реалізація проєкту наразі ще неможлива, проєкт може бути реалізовано у віртуальному просторі. І я згоден з паном Самером, що матеріали, які містяться у його проєкті і інших його проєктах, збірниках та публікаціях, можуть бути реалізовані з часом, як то було з підводним човном з роману Жюля Верна «20 тисяч лє під водою».
Since the practical implementation of this project is currently impossible, it can be still implemented in the virtual space. And I agree with Mr. El Sayari that the materials contained in um, his projects and other projects, collections and publications of his can be implemented in the future the same way as the submarine from Jules Verne's adventure novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Ще раз хочу підкреслити, що цей проект демонструє потужний потенціал людської уяви та сприяє залученню молоді до космічних досліджень.
I want to emphasize once again that this project demonstrates the powerful potential of human imagination and promotes the involvement of younger generation in space research.
Проекти такі, як цей, вони мають змогу стимулювати ентузіазм молодих поколінь у розвитку цих ідей та наближення їх до практичної реалізації.
Projects like these will stimulate the enthusiasm of younger generations in developing these ideas and bringing them closer to reality.
Представлений проект повністю відповідає цілям конкурсу і заслуговує найвищої оцінки. Хочу побажати пану Самеру успіхів у реалізації його проєктів, його прагнень. Дуже дякую.
The project meets the goals of the competition and deserves the highest rating. I would like to wish Mr. El Sayari every success in realizing his projects and his aspirations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Degtyaryov. Unfortunately, today we don't have with us MVA experts who provided their comments to the projects. So we turn now to Colin Lennox, Echo Islands LLC, with his project Resource Extraction from Solution using self-organizing wetland bioreactors. Colin, the floor is yours.
Oleg, thank you very much. I'm just turn that way down. Yeah, my name's Colin Lennox. I'm in Pennsylvania, United States, and I clean up coal mines. Also, we build methane digesters, a whole series of different kinds of bioreaction vessels, essentially. There's the slide. Let me go ahead and share. I guess it's already being shared. Looks like somebody has control of my slide deck. That is okay. So what is a wetland? What do wetlands do for terrestrial biotic cycling on Earth? Damn near everything. So what my company and I do is we invented the self-organizing wetland bioreactor. We'll get into that just a little bit more. I realized when I first did this presentation that it's being presented mostly to engineers. So in this case, I tried to redraft it a little bit more towards engineering maybe hope to answer a couple more questions. Once again, let me see if I can get control of the slide there. Guess I got a little technical. Oh, okay. Thank you. Hey, perfect. Whoever is out there, I think that's Mike. I appreciate that. This is mostly the presentation of an entire field of work in 10 minutes. So I'm just going to focus on just a couple basics. To start off with, what you're looking at here is what's called the redox ladder. If you think of purely chemical reactions occurring where you've got reductants and oxidants, think fuel, methane, hydrogen, propellants, perchlorate, different things that you could use to accelerate a mass up to space. These same quantifications can be pretty much rendered down to how much energy are you getting out per those products, considering the law of conservation energy and mass. And in a biotic world, there are a number of different metabolites. Everybody listening to me right now eats food. We breathe oxygen. We exhale and we excrete. These are all products, the inputs and the outputs of aerobic cellular metabolism. Oxygen as an electron acceptor, as the exhaust gas, is really, really potent. in the biology world, you get 32 ATP out for aerobic respiration. It's why, when you're going to space, if you're using H2, you got a tank of O2, because that combined reaction produces an enormous amount of energy, whether it be heat or, in this case, of us living beings. It's so good it allows us to be these big, large, multicellular organisms. The last gentleman was talking about biomimicry. Great presentation, by the way, and I'm really glad he brought up some of those initial points. So I won't go too much into the why, for, and the where of the design process. What is important to know is that in a community of biofilm covers every square inch of the planet, and it is considered to be up to 50% of the cycling, or the vast majority of the cycling of breaking down the decomposers. And there's a whole bunch of different metabolic pathways all squished together. And in an open environment, you've got a whole bunch of different microbes that are capable of taking advantage and using all these different metabolites. And that's basically the redox ladder. So the amount of energy put out from top to bottom, you've got oxic down to methanic right there. If you just look at the colored redox ladder portion there, those are, and they can essentially be measured in voltage is one way you can do it. So getting back to kind of like the engineering concepts. If you look up Sergei Winogradsky, he had done a lot of this initial work back in the early 1920s. So this goes back 100 years. My dad was a microbiologist. He turned me on to this stuff, and we carry on. But the thing to know is that those in an open environment, self-selection leads to self-organization. The most energy producing metabolic couplet goes first, because it allows the microbes to outcompete and outgrow everything else around it. But when it's all used up, it has to kick over to the next one. In this case, that's your nitrifiers or your denitrifiers, manganese, then iron and sulfate, and of course then down to methane. And as we all know, these are all metabolites, and they're all micro and macronutrients for both primary producers, plants, and the tertiary consumers, us. There's just way more of us on the planet than is is sustainable. So that's the big idea. It can be measured in voltage. ORP is what it's called, oxidation reduction potential, and it's in the field that I work in, working with wetlands, it's like a $30 probe. You got it on up end. So fortunately, it's easy to characterize. It's easy to take with you. You can pull a lot of science and know a lot about an environment very quickly with just a couple very simple probes. This is what I use for work on coal mines and wastewater treatment facilities. Can we go to the next one? Thank you. And one context then, for the engineers out there, this is one of the ones that I had to get into my head. Think of it as a multi-fuel, multi-exhaust stage engine, one that is capable of using a whole bunch of different metabolites, oxidizers and reductants, and that it is self-selecting and organizing so that you always know if you're in the nitrifiers, all right, you've already burned up all the oxygen, the atmospheric and or dissolved O2 in the water source. And then next is manganese. That redox ladder is consistent, which is nice because it gives you a roadmap. You know where you are. Just real quick, trophism. Once again, this is all energy supporting almost all the environments on the planet except for the deep sea thermal vents are provided by the sun. Plants, primary producers. We're up at the top. And there is only a 10% transfer, or 1 in 10, or about 1 exponent transfer, or I guess it would be a negative exponent, of energy and mass per step. So that's represented in this pyramid. I would like to point out that the decomposers are off to the side, but they are making up the greatest mass. It's just not representative in this particular photo. Next one, please. Thank you. Okay, awesome. So I build these bioreactors. We put these in at a coal mine here last year. Those are 450 gallons a piece. There's 16 of them on one site. Now in coal mining and and this is where this kind of technology relates to ISRU, in situ resource utilization. taking regolith and not just grinding it up and breaking it down, but how do you start getting into the solution action? What if you're starting to treat it with acids or bases, and that is then capable of freeing up dissolved ions that are in a reduced state, which essentially means that they are then energetic. They're carrying more electrons. These electrons are energy sources for different metabolisms, and this is what mine drainage is. Or acidified mine drainage. So here in Pennsylvania, we got lots of coal mines, and it destroys our water. So we've got regulations that say that we have to clean our water up to a certain point. Great idea. You'll lose whole environments going downstream for tens, 20s, hundreds of miles in some cases. Rio Tinto in Spain, perfect example. So the idea is you got to build different kind of vessels or ponds or wetlands or embodiments to clean the water. You have to add pH adjustments. And we have found that if you use self-organizing wetland bioreactors, these soaps, it's just what I call them. So if you're using soaps, you have an opportunity to capture the material through a whole host of different reclamation means, both biotic and abiotic. And that's essentially what we've done. Build reaction vessels of a size and scale that will match with the flow rates that you see seasonally going throughout the year. Here in Pennsylvania, I'm at about 42 north latitude. Our winters are, there's worse out there, but I mean, we can go anywhere from down to negative 15 all the way up to 110 here for our environment at the extremes. And you have to build vessels that'll make it through the winter, which you got to bury them around here, or leave them freestanding. Personally, I like using HDPE for the soaps, the boxes, because it's very inert. It's recycled plastic, so it's reasonably cheap. Surprisingly, the economics are okay, and they last 50 to 100 years. So you have something that is energetically passive that's going to be around for a long time. So if you run out your ROI or the investment on the units for what you're going to get, they become very cost effective over the long term. And when you then do start getting certain pathways like manganese, reduced manganese oxidation, you can produce manganese oxides, which are economically viable. They stop polarization on electrodes. One of the biggies, that's what they're used for in batteries. And I'm going to leave that one right there. We've got some other lines of research that I can't talk about right now. So next one. Awesome, thank you. Then this one in Kennett Square, which is the mushroom capital of America, essentially. They have this one particular company has an issue with they're dealing with wastewater from their mushroom processing, and without getting too deep into the concept on all their specifics, suspended solids and biological oxygen demand, fecal coliforms, and other pathogens. So we've got a real nasty mix of things that would harm us, but will also be available waste streams to be reclaimed on the moon and or Mars. So we built this system as well, and we were also seeing about 1 exponent to 2 exponents in treatments, removal and the capture of those materials that are then sent to those dewatering bags. That's a pretty new project. And of course, for all of this, there's data available if anybody wants to get a hold of it. Please just, look up the website, call me. Next one, please. Thank you. I'm not going to spend any time on this one. This is my opus. This is a BISRU, or a biological in situ resource utilization system. So the light pink over there, regolith. The purple is the initial water processing. This one's made for Mars, by the way. So we've got perchlorate to deal with, but that's a great oxidizer, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. In the light blue then are the different stages of redox for the wetland bioreactors, the SOBs. Green is the HABs, and the working stations is like those white ones. And I want to point out, though, that the importance is that you need them both working together, and the wetlands that are the catalyzing agents allow for multiple products to be distilled off. And that's whether it be through degassing, whether it's a salt that stays in the waters, or some kind of if you want to move on to phytoremediation in the growing habitats. Basically, one thing to go back to is if it's an engine and it's got these steps, that means that you can pull off at different points, different products of that metabolism. That's really the biggie. Next one, please. That's some manganese oxide. That's about 85% purity bernocite. America gets most of our manganese oxides from China at 60%, and they're pulling it out of the ground. We're getting it from solution. And that's not even talking about rare earths, but that right there is the sweet zone, essentially, under which that was produced. If there were rare earth elements in that particular site called Glasgow, about half an hour from my house, that's the pay dirt right there. That's the ability to remove all the iron, all the aluminum, get directly to what you're looking for the manganese and the rare earth elements. Department of Energy is putting a lot of time and effort into this, West Virginia and Penn State as well. And we think we've got the sweet zone if we can do it biologically here. So that's kind of the future. Once again, I'm not aware of a lot of manganese on the moon. Maybe this doesn't really apply on Mars, perhaps more so. We'll see. Next slide, please. And of course, Slava Ukraine. This is the Agora. And so this is a containerized version with solar panels of the boxes that are capable. When it's also got a reverse osmosis machine. I was in the infantry a long time ago here in the United States, and the guy, James Carson, who is also a Marine Corps vet, he's doing all the automation. So other practical real world uses is to build wastewater treatment facilities that are also capable of providing fresh water either from groundwater or whatever the source should be, with I think it's 32 kilowatts of power, 23 kilowatts of power, 32 kilowatts of battery, 3-phase and DC. So there's real world applications of what we can do with this now, but then also piggyback that tech to get us up. It's basically the way I was thinking about this. Originally, it was for refugee camps, and we got a lot more of those than we used to. But yeah, my name's Colin Lennox. Thank you very much for the time and for all the feedback, and I appreciate it, everything. Slava Ukraine!
Thank you so much, Colin. It is very impressive project, which is equally important for the moon and for the earth as well. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, great. I will repeat again. Thank you so much for your support first, and second, for your very impressive project of equal importance for the moon and for the earth. We are now going back to Dr. Maxim Degtyaryov for the expert comments on this project. Please, Maxim.
Спасибі. Дуже цікавий проєкт.
Thank you. Very interesting project.
Головною перевагою проєкту, пане Леноксе, є високий рівень технічної готовності, оскільки технологія вже розроблена та комерційно використовується на землі.
The main advantage of Mr. Lennox's project is its high TRL, because the technology has been already developed and commercially used on Earth.
Також цінність роботи полягає в ідеї залучення до концепції ІСРУ можливості біотехнологій. Використання мікроорганізмів для переробки місячних порід дійсно може бути дуже ефективним за традиційніші технології, оскільки біотехнології практично не потребують витратних матеріалів.
Also, the value of the work lies in the idea of involving the possibilities of biotechnology in the ISRU concept. The use of microorganisms to process lunar rocks may indeed be more effective than traditional technologies, since biotechnologies require virtually no consumables.
Крім того, вирощування біомаси може стати додатковим джерелом сировини для біосистем, що забезпечують виробництво їжі, кисню та інших продуктів місцевого виробництва.
And growing biomass can be a source of for other applications such as food production, etc.
Для остаточного визначення доцільності застосування технології біореакторів на місяці необхідно проаналізувати деякі додаткові показники. Як то?
So some additional parameters should be analyzed at the same time to make the technology of the bioreactors on the moon feasible.
Це перш за все маса біореактора,
So the first parameter is the mass of the bioreactor,
маса споживання ресурсів, води, газів, твердих та рідких відходів тощо.
The mass of resource consumption, resources such as water, gas, solid and liquid waste, soil, etc.
Масові показники та склад вихідних продуктів з біореактора.
Also, we need to analyze the mass of indicators and the composition of the products which are output from the bioreactor.
Також слід продумати зв'язок роботи біореактора з роботою місячної станції.
And the connection between the operation of the bioreactor and the operation of the moon station should be also worked out.
Наявність потрібних реактивів на місяці, їх масу, а також масу реактивів, які мають бути доставлені із Землі.
And also what should be analyzed is the availability of reactants on the moon and their mass, as well as the mass of the reactants which need to be delivered from the Earth to the moon.
Ці дані мають також бути доповнені обґрунтуванням можливості та розглядом особливості використання технології на місяці.
These data should be also supplemented by a substantiation of the possibility and consideration of the features of using such technology on the moon.
Пропозиціями щодо використання отриманих матеріалів у результаті використання технології. Та економічний аналіз має бути проведений.
What also should be provided are proposals for the use of the materials obtained as a result of the technology application and an economic analysis.
Зважаючи на общий загальний рівень готовності технології, пропоную пану Колінзу почати проєктування космічної версії біореактора та у процесі цих робот надати відповіді на усі ці питання.
Considering the overall technology readiness level, I suggest that Mr. Lennox start designing a space version of the bioreactor, and in the process of this work, you will get answers to the questions that we mentioned.
В цілому ж запропонована методика являє собою новий підхід до переробки відходів в умовах космічних місій і може мати великий потенціал застосування.
In general, the proposed method represents a new approach to waste treatment in the space mission environment, and it may have great potential for utilization.
Загалом проєкт є дуже актуальним і перспективним, а його реалізація досяжна та науково обґрунтована. Бажаю успіхів у його реалізації.
As an overall comment, the project is incredibly relevant and promising, and its implementation is achievable and scientifically substantiated. I wish you every success in its implementation.
І додатково до цих коментарів я би від імені Південного та усієї України хотів би висловити особливу вдячність пану Коліну за ту надзвичайну роботу, яку він виконав та виконує, проєктуючи та створюючи контейнеризовану версію біореактора, яка називається Агора, для переробки відходів води та вироблення питної води.
In addition to my above comments, on behalf of UJNET team and all Ukrainian people, I would like to express my sincerest gratitude to Mr. Lennox for the extraordinary work that you have already done and continue to do in designing and building the containerized version of the Agora system for treatment of wastewaters and producing fresh water using solar energy.
Ми бажаємо вам успіху, сподіваємося, що ваша система допоможе великій кількості біженців та постраждалих від природних катаклізмів та від війни, в тому числі і на Україні. Дякую.
We wish you every success, and we hope that your system will help multitudes of people in refugee camps in various countries which were affected by war or natural disasters, including in Ukraine. Thank you.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Degtyaryov. We now move to the third winner, Haralampos Cosmos, with his lunar cargo project. Haris, this time the floor is yours, please.
Пане Олеже,
Так?
на жаль, у нас технічні проблеми з паном Харрісом. У нас не наче все налагоджено, але чомусь звук не йде від пана Харріса.
Отже, що ми робимо?
Я сказав пану Харрісу, можливо, у нього вимкнено аудіо. Він не наче почув мене, але я не знаю, він почув чи ні. Я думаю, він спробував перевірити.
Я можу зараз спробувати знестися.
Так, добре, дякую.
Я йому надіслав повідомлення.
Maybe the solution is to reboot the application.
Алло? Алло? Михайле?
Так, я вас чую, пане
Олеже. Він каже, що він зробив все, що міг. Може, він каже, є сенс to reboot the application. Я не знаю, чи це допоможе, чи ні.
Добре, скажіть, будь ласка, щоб перезавантажив по тому самому посиланню.
Окей, гаразд.
Добре.
One, two, three. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
А зараз no. And now we cannot shift it on. Harris, could you say something, please? We cannot hear you again.
One, two, three. One, two, three.
Harris?
Hello.
Hello? Yes,
I
now we
hear
can
you.
hear you. Yes,
Okay.
please do not change anything.
Okay. So thank you for this. Um, I try to share screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes, yes, great.
Okay. So I would like to present you Project Lunar Cargo, which includes two concepts for landing on the lunar surface without consuming any fuel. It is easy to explain by a video. The first concept let's see the next also and close with the videos. So the two concepts, one next to the other. First, I consider the deployment shall be for the partial catcher, which is easier to develop and has more locations for implementation. However, on the long run, the dominant way to deliver cargo will be with the second system that has larger capacity. If we start to see what is the state of the art with respect to mechanical landers, we have to go back to the 80s when Enrique Kraft, an accomplished practitioner in the field of astrodynamics and its applications, had suggested a lunar lander. The ideal location for landing such a lander is on flat areas. There are certain flat areas in the northwest of the surface of the moon. On the left side, you see in black and white picture, while on the right-hand side, you see all the areas that are suitable for this application. I think you lost me. So I continue regarding flat areas which are suitable for the oplonas. The second concept for partial catching requires locations with high elevation. And there are plenty of such locations both in the South Pole, but all over the lunar surface. This is just for the near side, but similar are on the other side. Highlight about the demand of lunar missions. According to North Star Research, the predictions we had about lunar landings, lunar missions, excuse me, were for 2021. They expected that next 10 years we're going to have 70 missions. Then the next year they increased the prediction to 250 missions for the same duration. And for this year, they talk about 400 missions, which means we have an increase in the prediction by 570%. These figures have been acknowledged by European Space Agency, and they constitute the base of ESA planning. The starting point to define what is the problem is to realize that for the landing phase, we need a descending stage. In Apollo times, the lunar module was 15 tons, and the descending stage was 10 tons. It was 69% of the total mass. Nothing practically has changed. Even now, in Artemis era, the same constraints in terms of performance remain. In order to reduce the necessity for a landing stage, the solution I have defined is to shift the requirement of velocity reduction from 1.6 kilometers per second to zero using means present on the surface. That could be either a flat land that will provide friction, roll friction, or a system specifically developed for catching parcels that is based on wires, metallic wires, all from Xylon, a material that has high tensile strength. An instantiation of the parcel catcher that I call by the acronym MACEDONAS, momentum absorption catcher for express delivery on non-atmospheric somata, looks like that, where a parcel is arriving at a motion tangentially to the ground, it may have either been released by an orbiting spacecraft or it may have been shot by another location on the lunar surface. Whatever the origin, the speed will be 1.6 kilometers per second, and we need to decelerate it. So by having two poles established on high ground and targeting this catcher, we can arrest mechanically the partial. But due to the kinetic energy, the catcher will be ejected and it will travel across a swath of about 10 kilometers, in which case we'll experience a deceleration of about 15G. Of course, different configurations can be installed. Even 30 kilometers could be considered, 50 kilometers could be considered, as long as we have the material to establish such a net and the mechanical means to deploy and redeploy after each mission. The indicative landing can be either on a safety cushion, which can be implemented either by pulverized regolith or by an additional net. The operating principle of Macedonas is that the catcher resembles as a butterfly catcher with multiple layers and special material that can achieve the initial mechanical arresting of the parcel. The core wire mediates between the catcher and the dendritic system or the net, which is performing the deceleration function. I have to highlight that it is a system that generates zero ejecta from the surface. It is reusable, it is scalable, and it is highly configurable to accommodate varying sizes of parcels. Important is also to note that it can be used as a portable means, can be carried by rover, and can be deployed in emergency situations or in remote locations for receiving rescue supplies. Material of choice for the implementation exists, could be either Xylon or Dyneema, and have an external skin from a wire mesh by gunmetal or similar material. Also very important to highlight that recent developments have brought availability of a Tallinn shock absorbing material. Here you can find the paper with all the explanations. Also additional material as a choice B have become available recently. You can find details on those two papers. And now, more briefly about the Oplonas, the oversized payload for landing on non-atmospheric stomata. A big object with dimension overall 60 meters and a central cylindrical hub that contains the payload with a diameter of 6 meters and length 9 meters. It has the constraint that it needs land of flat area in order to land. Important to highlight that it is scalable. We have chosen this particular size for point design, and also to highlight that it has only low speed surface ejecta being generated during landing, and it will be equipped also by inflatable torus for active rolling to the delivery point. The efficiency may reach to 320% on the long run. Initially, it can be in the range of 5, 10, but it will continually evolve. One recent development that makes our risk management more manageable is that we're going to have soon high resolution topography with small error acceptable for the size we contemplate. And additional techniques to increase the strength of material has been recently made available. A little bit here about the operating principle, which I think is more or less understood. It is a wheel landing tangentially and braking over a long distance and long duration in order to accommodate the energy dissipation that we need to accommodate. We have recent communication by the patent office that we're going to be granted the first patent in the near future, next course of months by October. It depends on the letter on our side. We have established a full advisory board that covers Europe. We need also further advisors from other locations. And we have also started engagement with two investors that are capable of deploying the resources needed to implement it. But we still looking for international co-development partners.
Thank you very much, Harris, for this very interesting project and very challenging one at the same time. Now we are going back to Dr. Maxim Degtyaryov for the comments on this project, please.
Спасибі. Ну, проєкт плану космоса – це дуже оригінальний спосіб щодо забезпечення вирішення питань ефективного доставлення корисного вантажу на поверхню місяця за рахунок механічних засобів посадки.
Mr. Cosmos's project is an original way to resolve the issues of efficient delivery of payloads to the moon using mechanical means of landing.
Ми всі знаємо, що м'яка посадка на поверхню місяця є небезпечною, дорогою та неефективною у зв'язку з витратами палива та суттєвим зниженням маси корисного вантажу.
We all know that a soft landing on the surface of the moon is dangerous, expensive and inefficient due to fuel consumption and a significant payload mass decrease.
Багато запланованих м'яких посадок на місяць зазнають невдачі.
Many planned soft landings on the moon fail.
Етапи м'якої посадки включають виведення посадкового модулю з траєкторії польоту на орбіту місяця,
The stages of a soft landing include the transfer of the lander from the flight path to the lunar orbit,
його перехід на посадкову орбіту з уповільненням швидкості і вертикальне зниження для м'якої посадки.
its transfer to the landing orbit with deceleration, and a vertical descent for a soft landing.
Використання механічних методів посадки може виключити останній небезпечний етап, який часто призводить до невдач.
So using these mechanical landing methods can eliminate this last difficult and dangerous stage of the process which often leads to failure.
Механічний підхід дозволить підвищити надійність, не знижуючи швидкості модуля до нуля та не вимагаючи витрат палива на уповільнення та вертикальне позиціонування.
The mechanical approach will improve reliability without reducing the speed of the module to zero and without requiring fuel consumption for deceleration and vertical positioning.
Це також дозволить збільшити масу корисного навантаження завдяки зниженню витрат палива.
This will also increase payload due to reduced fuel consumption, zero fuel consumption.
Це наявні переваги запропонованого способу доставки корисних вантажів на місяць.
These are all the evident advantages of the proposed method of delivering payloads to the moon.
Проте я хотів би зауважити кілька ключових аспектів пану космосу, які варто врахувати подальше для розвитку його проєкту.
However, I would like to point out a few key aspects of Mr. Cosmos's project that should be taken into account during the future project development.
По-перше, складання та підготовку апарата Оплонас на орбіті є складним процесом, який потребує окремого опрацювання.
First, the assembly and preparation of Aplonas in orbit is a complex process that requires a separate study efforts.
Також необхідно приділити увагу завданню на початковий імпульс, оскільки навіть незначні помилки можуть призвести до суттєвих відхилень від запланованої зони посадки.
Also, attention must be paid to the problem of the initial impulse, since even small errors can lead to deviations from the planned landing zone.
Цю проблему можуть вирішити використання системи орієнтації та стабілізації у складі апарату.
Using an orientation and stabilization system in the spacecraft can solve this problem.
Також фактори поверхні місяця, такі як неровності та неоднорідність ґрунтів, впливатимуть на кінцеву траєкторію руху та потребуватимуть великої зони небезпеки.
Lunar surface factors such as unevenness and soil heterogeneity will affect the final trajectory and will require a larger safety zone.
Це може в деякому сенсі обмежити можливість розвитку наземної інфраструктури колонії на місяці, тому тут треба знайти найкращий компроміс з економічної та технічної точок зору.
This may in some sense limit the development of the land-based infrastructure for lunar colonies, so it is necessary to find the best compromise from an economic and an engineering point of view.
Ще один нюанс, якому слід приділити увагу, це той факт, що при зменшенні числа обертів апарату ЛУНАС на місячній поверхні виникає питання його стійкості та запобігання перекиданню конструкції.
Another aspect that one should be mindful of is when reducing the number of Aplona's rotations on the lunar surface, we are faced with the problem of stability of the structure and prevention of its falling sideways on the surface.
Також доставка вантажу, корисного вантажу від апарату Аполлонас та його елементів буде вимагати транспортних систем, які витрачатимуть енергію на подолання великих відстаней. Цей фактор слід враховувати при економічній оцінці проєкту.
Also, delivering parcels from Aplonas and its elements requires transportation systems that will spend energy to travel long distances. This factor should be taken into account during the economic evaluation of the project.
Було б дуже цілесообразно розробити ефективний сценарій зупинки та демонтажу апарату Аполлонас з урахуванням безпеки вантажу та збереження цілісності самого апарату.
It would be advisable to develop an effective scenario for stopping and dismantling the Aplonas, taking into account the safety of the parcel and preserving the integrity of the capsule.
Взагалі ж проект дуже цікавий та має велику перспективу і може бути реалізований не тільки на місяці, а й на інших планетах, навіть і на Землі для посадки, наприклад, багаторазових модулів ракет-носіїв та спускаємих апаратів космічних, спускаємих апаратів.
Overall, the project has the prospect of implementation not only on the Moon but also on other planets, including Earth, when landing reusable separated parts of the launch vehicles or landing the re-entry vehicles.
Ну і на закінчення хочу сказати, що ми вважаємо проект дуже перспективним.
And in conclusion, I would like to say that we believe that this project is very promising.
Він, звісно, вимагає деякого доопрацювання, проте тема є дуже важлива, а цілі є конкретними та зрозумілими.
It of course requires some amount of refinement, but in general the topic is important, the project goals are specific and quite clear.
Пане Космос, я бажаю вам успіхів у реалізації вашого проєкту.
Mr. Cosmos, I wish you every success in the implementation of your project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Degtyaryov. With this last series of comments, we are done with our second part of the session, and we can move now to the third and the final part, which is the awarding ceremony. So every of the three winners is getting a certificate, and we expect everyone to say probably a few words, just a couple of words, as the final words on the part of the winners. So we have Samer Sayari. You may be the first if you wish, please.
Thank you so much for having me today again. And I will just like to mention a lesson that we have learned from strategic planning back when we were studying in the university. It is the destiny of great men is to design and to think about the next 500 years after their lifetime. And this what makes it them different from others. Our presence today demonstrates the same principle. We are laying the foundation for others and then trying to enlighten and be the light beacon for others that will take our work today and develop it furthermore. We might not live to the day to see our projects built on moon, but for sure people will mention us maybe hundreds of years from now. Thank you again for having this opportunity for me and for the future generations and for others.
On your win. Colin Lennox, please, it's your turn now.
Oh wow, he nailed it. That it's kind of hard to say better than that. Be interested in science. Think morally and ethically about what you do. Uh, I go by Boy Scouts. A scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent, or respectful, as I prefer. Know why you do things, uh, because there's always a reason. But otherwise, Slava Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed, Colin, and our sincere congratulations on your win. Harris Cosmos, please.
I want again to highlight that I consider the evaluators the igniter of this story. I'm just the spark. If there will not be an igniter, we will not have any result. You are the enablers for something that has tremendous economies of scale, therefore a magnet for potential international cooperation. I still pray and hope that it will have traction and results for everybody very soon. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Harris, and our sincere congratulations to you as well. So we have listened to all the three winners. We congratulate them all together, and it's a good time now to hear some final words from first Dr. Maxim Degtyaryov and then Giuseppe Ribaldi, MBA president. I pass the floor to Maxim, please.
Друзі, ще раз хочу висловити подяку, щиру подяку Moon Village Association, експертам та всім учасникам. Ваша участь та ентузіазм показують, що ми маємо неймовірний потенціал щодо розвитку космічних технологій.
Dear friends, once again I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Moon Village Association, the experts and all the participants. Your participation and enthusiasm shows that we have incredible potential for space technology development.
Доктор Дегтярьов завжди був прихильником амбітних починань та втілення сміливих ідей, і я пишаюся тим, що ми маємо можливість вшанувати його ім'я цією ініціативою.
Dr. Degtyaryov has always been a supporter of ambitious undertakings and the implementation of bold ideas, and I am proud that today we can honor his name with this initiative.
Ще раз вітаю переможців цього конкурсу та закликаю всіх нас продовжувати прагнути нових висот. Бажаю всім нам не зупинятися на досягнутому та продовжувати втілювати свої ідеї в реальність. Сподіваюсь, що рекомендації, які ви отримали від наших експертів, допоможуть вам на цьому шляху.
Once again, I would like to congratulate all the winners of this competition and urge all of us to continue striving for new heights. I wish you not to stop there and continue to turn your projects and ideas into reality. I hope that the expert recommendations that you received will help you to do this.
А інші команди-учасниці та всіх зацікавлених я запрошую приймати участь у всіх наступних конкурсах під егідою Moon Village Association та КБ Південне.
I invite other participating teams and all the interested parties to take part in all future initiatives under the aegis of the Moon Village Association and UJNE.
Ми з вами усі знаходимося на порозі дивовижних відкриттів та досягнень космічної галузі. І ваш внесок у це він має дуже велике значення.
We are all on the cusp of amazing discoveries and advancement in space exploration, and your contribution to this field is of great importance.
Дякую всім за вашу присутність на фінальній сесії церемонії PromoMoon. Нехай наші зусилля призведуть нас до нових горизонтів і надихнуть нове покоління дослідників, які продовжують нашу неймовірну подорож на місяць. Дякую, дуже дякую.
Thank you all for your attendance at this closing ceremony of the PromoMoon initiative. May our efforts lead us to new horizons and inspire the next generation of explorers to continue our incredible journey to the moon. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maxim Degtyaryov. Giuseppe Ribaldi, Moon Village Association President, please. Giuseppe, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I repeat,
It's
sorry,
okay.
I was on mute. So let me try. So first of all, again, I'd like to thank all the participants to the basically PromoMoon initiative, the winners, which I'd like to congratulate. They have been a very interesting concept. And of course, the UJNOI team, as well as the MVA, in particular the UJNOI team, because of the difficult situation which we all know and we have seen they are operating. So therefore, this is an important thanks, and I do wish that next year the situation it will be different. We will, of course, try to implement with the agreement of UJNOI also for next year this PromoMoon initiative. The small comment I'd like to make that it seems that infrastructure this year has been a team which has been a little bit connecting all the three winners. Team which is very much consistent with the International Moon Day team, which is beginning the new lunar journey for humanity. It's important that infrastructure comes first, and because they are the basis, of course, for the lunar utilization exploration. The future generation needs to be empowered, and so I think this kind of event are important to stimulate the interest of all the future generation, and we do hope that this PromoMoon initiative, together with UJNOI, with whom we have sponsored since many years, is going to help the future generation to get involved in rural activity. So therefore, I'd like to thank you so much again, all the participants to the event. And I believe, think is probably now is the turn, I believe, of Bernadette, if I am correct. Oleg, the floor is back to you, and thanks again.
Thank you very much for your inspiring words, Giuseppe. Indeed, you are correct. I'm going to give the floor to Bernadette Detera, MVA Global Network Implementation Support Officer, for the announcement of the forthcoming MVA events. Please, Bernadette.
Right. Thank you so much, Oleg and Giuseppe. First of all, my warmest congratulations again to all the winners of this year's PromoMoon initiative. We started this initiative last year in pursuit of providing a platform to generate novel ideas and concepts on lunar technologies, and we are very happy to have had this again this year. I thank again our dear colleagues from UJNI State Design Office, our experts, and of course, everyone who participated and submitted a proposal. Now, all winning ideas will be presented at the International Astronautical Congress in Baku this year under the D42 session, the Moon Village session. And I'm also very pleased to announce that we will be having the next installment of PromoMoon initiative next year. And I highly encourage and invite everyone to participate and submit a proposal for PromoMoon 2024. And also, I would like to mention that this PromoMoon initiative is only one of the activities that MVA is doing to promote sustainable lunar activities and, more importantly, to promote the involvement of the young generation. I would like to take this opportunity to invite everyone to participate in MVA's annual design hackathon, which is another great opportunity to develop your ideas and get mentorship from experts. And lastly, I would like to say Happy International Moon Day to everyone. We will be celebrating it in 2 days, and please feel free to celebrate it with us and tune in online through our social media and MBA's YouTube channel as well. So I think that is all from my side. And again, congratulations to all the winners.
Thank you so much, Bernadette. Thank you. So we are really coming to the end of our today's session. And before saying goodbye to each other, I would like to show you the names at least and the photos of those almost 3 dozens of people who made this competition possible by their everyday work and sometimes very hard work. So may I ask my colleagues to show those people? Here they are, some of them, but in more details you can see now. It's evaluation committee team led by Dr. Maxim Degtyarev. Technical coordination team, you have Yulia Lysenko on the left and Mikhailo Kalyapin on the right, two real masterminds of this competition. Now, in the middle of the picture, you can see Sergei Poluyan, whose guidance to all the media production team was absolutely indispensable for the project implementation. And you can see all the valuable members of this media production team. And last but not least, of course, our interpreters. Great job done. And I would like to especially thank our interpreter Yulia Arkhipova on your right for her outstanding work. Thank you so much, dear colleagues. With this, indeed, we are at the very end of our today's session. And again, as Bernadette has already said, we are looking forward to the third edition of our PromoMoon initiative. 2 times it was already done, so it makes already a tradition. But we do not stop here, and please stay tuned for the third PromoMoon initiative, which is going to be announced quite soon this fall. We are looking forward to meeting you again, either in the framework of the initiative or just by means of exchange of ideas, emails, meetings at different fora. Thank you so much indeed for your participation in our PromoMoon initiative, and see you next time on our ways and a unique way to the moon. Thank you and goodbye.